Alrighty. What is up, ghouls, gamers, and goblins? PotatoBagel here, and I have for you again another deck video. Now, this one is a little bit interesting because it functions around Gallade EX, which gets support from Lucario, but there's also a Regirock in there. This is important because Regirock is a really good wall. So I have the Rocky Helmet, which does 20 damage every time you get attacked. You put that on Regirock, who already has an ability that, decreases its damage taken by 20. And next thing you know, I think it's a better wall than Druddigan is. And so there's only one Gallade line with two Regirock and two Lucario, and that's simply for the consistency of it. I spent a lot of time trying to lab this out, and I think this is the best way that, I could, build it. Because you power up the Gallade on the bench, you use Regirock as a wall. You can also use it as sort of your late game offense too, because its move already does 100 damage, and if you manage to set up your two Lucario on the bench as well, that gets boosted up to 140. So the Rocky helmets are mostly for the Regirock. The giant cape is for the Gallade. This is obviously just, if you're going up against Mewtwo, Mewtwo can one-shot Gallade because Gallade is weak to Psychic. But with the giant cape, you can obviously just mitigate that an extra 20 HP. You can also put the giant cape onto Regirock, and that boosts its HP up to 140, but because of its damage reduction by 20, this forces anything that does 150 damage, like Palkia or Mewtwo, you then have to use a Giovanni just to make up that difference. There's a couple sets of matches that I'm going to go through here, one of which is against the Darkrai opponent that's like in the solo battle. Mostly because I wanted to show how this deck functions against Darkrai, which I think is probably like the biggest threat right now. The Darkrai Weavile combo. I have a match I want to show with that, and then I also have some other matches, just against random people. And I did against Darkrai, the solo Darkrai, because the other matches I went up against there wasn't a Darkrai. So, that way you have some variety, you can kind of see how this deck functions. I'm going to do the Darkrai one first, just to sort of break down the intended combo that this deck is meant to build. Good thing this all is being edited out. Alright, so we're going first this time, which, it's not the best, but luckily we pulled the Regirock right away. And they end up with, two Darkrai on the bench here. We have the Rocky helmet as well, which is nice. It's a pretty decent start. Actually, I'd say it's probably one of the better starts that this deck can pull. We got the Rocky helmet, a Professor's Research, and a Pokeball. We end up putting the Riolu on the bench here. Now, when going up against Darkrai, Darkrai itself isn't really much of a threat. Personally, I think Weavile is the bigger threat. Specifically for Gallade, because Gallade obviously, powers up, if your opponent has more energy. And so when Weavile only needs 1 energy, Gallade can only do 90 damage to it. Which means that in order to, take down Weavile, you either need the support from Lucario or Rocky Helmet chip damage. But instead, we managed to pull the Ralts here. We already have the Gallade in hand, which is nice. We got the Lucario as well. Now, obviously, this isn't an optimal Darkrai deck. It's a solo one. It has Farfetch'd in there. But, Farfetch'd doesn't really contribute in this fight much. So I was kind of hoping for the Kirlia here. But instead we get another Regirock. Which was necessary, obviously, our lead Regirock is about to go down here. This upcoming turn. So they Pokeball. I believe this gives them the Sneasel. Or I guess we'll just never know. Okay. So yeah, they take down Regirock, get the Rocky Helmet chip. Again, like at this point, like with 3 energy, Gallade, I believe, can just one-shot a Darkrai. Wait, hold on, my math is right. Because it's 20 energy per it's 20 damage per energy. 3 energy is 60 plus 70. Okay, so you need the Lucario. You need at least one Lucario in order to be able to one-shot a Darkrai. Well, you know, with the chip damage, you know, Gallade would have, if Gallade was set up, I definitely would have brought it in. But instead, you know, we leaf here. We have 1 leaf and 1 Giovanni just for situations like this. The fact that Gallade, you know, is powered under curve with its energy means that we can put that extra energy onto the Regirock to be able to retreat it with leaf. So we're able to KO a Darkrai here. Ideally, I'd want the giant cape on Gallade, but it's not too big of a deal. You know, they send in the Sneasel. Obviously evolve into Weavile. They choose to do damage here. Now, obviously, yeah, so I don't get, because I'm gonna pause here for a minute. So I don't get the giant cape, obviously, which means that Gallade is only at about, there we go. Yeah, there we go. My mouse. So I don't get the giant cape, which means with Darkrai and Weavile, the combo does 90 damage. So if I had the giant cape, you know, I'd obviously be at 100 damage, or I'd be at 100 health and could take that, but instead I'm not. And so this is kind of where, in most cases, I would probably lose. You know, Gallade doesn't do enough damage. If I had another Lucario on the bench here, I would take it because I got the Giovanni. Because I'm only doing 110, another Lucario would bring me to 130, Geo would bring me to 140. I could do that. So instead, you know, deliberating my actions here. And I choose to retreat into the Lucario because I can still, you know, damage the Weavile like this. And, you know, by the time Lucario goes down, Gallade can easily finish off the Weavile. Now, obviously, this is a risk because, you know, Cyrus is the biggest threat. But this is kind of a very weird thing that the AI does. Is that the way it handles its cards, like in most cases, I should have lost this fight. 100. If this was a real person, I 100% would have lost this fight. Because they have a Cyrus in their hand, which means they can bring in the Gallade, power up the Darkrai, do the damage, and then just take it down with the Weavile. Obviously, yeah. But as you can see, they choose to do the energy first and then the Cyrus. And because of that, you know, the one thing they can KO is the Regirock, so they choose to take down the Regirock. And, you know, on the very last turn, obviously, you just want to get the giant cape. Needed that 1 turn ago. And as you can see, that's sort of the main point on how you take down a Darkrai deck with this. Because the main strategy is you have Regirock up here in the front with the Rocky helmet. You have, you know, Lucario on the side here. And, you know, if you manage to pull a majority of the Gallade line, I'd put it here. And then, you know, leave your last slot open, because you may want another Lucario, you may want to use the other Regirock. It depends. Just always leave this slot open. And so what's going to happen is if they get lucky and lead Weavile, Weavile is going to take Rocky Helmet chip damage, because no matter what, it's going to take 3 turns. Hold on. It's going to take 2 turns of attacking with Weavile, which means that it's going to take 40 points of damage from the Rocky Helmet. And at that point, ideally, you'd want Gallade set up. If not, there are a couple times where I've had to sack a Riolu just to get you know, just to get the extra damage off. But you know, that's the strategy basically. That yeah, that's just game. Right, so I built this deck to, you know, to perfectly go up against Darkrai because I haven't seen many people build a Gallade deck, and so that's kind of where my focus was on. I was like, okay, I want to see how it does against Darkrai. Obviously, it doesn't do so hot given that Ralts and Kirlia are weak to Dark. I was like, okay, I need a wall, and then that's when I found Regirock. Regirock being like the perfect wall, and the fact that, you know, it's able to. The fact that Gallade can only needs 2 energy means that I could put additional energy onto Regirock, which is obviously you know, perfect for Leaf. Because if you were doing this with, let's say, Machamp instead, Machamp needs 3 energy. Personally, I would replace the Regirock with Druddigon and do the exact same thing if you were running Machamp. I think Machamp might be the better option here because, yeah, Machamp might be a better option with this setup, just because, you know, it just has a higher damage output. And with Gallade, you might be able to do something a bit more aggressive. As you can see, that was, you know, just up against the, yeah, that was just up against, you know, the Darkrai computer, just because all the matches that I went up against nobody used Darkrai, which honestly surprised me. Go second here, which is, you know, always nice. Oh, it's okay. But as you can see, you know, pretty lucky start. We get the Regirock, we get the Rocky Helmet. We have Kirlia and Lucario, which is a bit awkward. But, oh, I remember. Yeah, this was a funky deck. I remember. It was a very weird combo. As you can see, they have water in the energy zone while leading Algium and Mew. So get the other Rocky Helmet. Okay, where do I get rid of? I get rid of the Kirlia. Okay, that makes sense. And I end up getting a Riolu. Power up the Riolu just because it's easier, because I don't know what's going to happen to the Regirock at this point. You had to pull up the card for Behem because I kind of forgot what its damage did. Okay, I redraw the Kirlia. Keep in mind, there's only one of each of the Gallade line in this deck, so the fact that I started with Kirlia and then redrew it is really funny. Right, so they have Greninja on the bench. They pull out Jinx. Well, they don't have Greninja yet, but it's Froakie and Frogadier, but they're building a Greninja. So I get the Leaf. Only one Leaf in the deck. And obviously, you know, because they haven't damaged Regirock yet, Regirock is perfectly safe. So I just continue to power it up. If I can get to 3 energy, that means I don't need to waste a Leaf on it. Obviously, get the other Regirock. I decided to put on the bench here because I think the most threatening thing is Mew with 130 HP. Greninja has 120. And so obviously, you know, with a couple energy, like especially with Mew, you know, if it managed to get all 3 energy with 130 HP, it's a clean wipe with Gallade. Trying to remember how this plays out because I think they leave the Behem in and then I knock it out. Then they send in the Jinx, which gives you enough time to come in. I decided to put, yeah, obviously I don't have enough time to really set up a Gallade, so I put the other Riolu in, just in the option, because the only other cards in the deck left are Ralts, Gallade, and Lucario. So the off chance I get a Lucario, you know, that's free damage. Yeah, knock out the Behem, they send in the Jinx, because they're going to try and power up the Mew. Because if Mew hits me for 100, it's only going to do 80. Right, okay, so the Giovanni Jinx, how much damage does that do? That does 100. I forget what I did here. Because this was such a weird deck combination. Did I hard retreat or did I leave? Oh, I did leave. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, send in the Lucario, because Lucario does 60 damage. And it means that the Mew can't really hit me for that much harder back. I think it's... Well, it would be 60, because it treats it as a Psychic type. So it's going to hit me for 60. Obviously, at that point... Actually, no. I don't need to worry about sacking Lucario, that's right. Yeah, hits me with genome hacking. I live. Oh, there's a lot. Yeah, I live. I retreat to... Yeah, okay. So yeah, at this point I just retreat to the Regirock, hit it with the Giovanni. That does 130 right there. As you can see, this is a very awkward deck. But there is potential to build up Regirock as your offense, as your main offense. Over that notification. That'll hopefully be blurred out in post. Alrighty, moving on to match number 2. End up going first here. Fine. Against another fighting deck. So managed to lead Regirock with the Rocky Helmet again. But they have a chop here. Let's go. I've immediately, obviously, just put the Rocky Helmet on Regirock. 3 chip damage. Get the other Regirock. I don't want to use it yet because I don't know if I'll need it. Although, okay. So what ended up happening here is I was trying to put the Riolu on the bench, but they were right next to each other. I remember this happening. I tried to put the Riolu on the bench. The cards were right next to each other. So what ended up happening is I did it too fast without paying attention. Accidentally put the Regirock on the bench. Oh, because I already have the Lucario on here. Because I think I wanted to communication the Regirock because I didn't need it yet. In case we can get something else. Obviously get the giant cape. Get another Lucario. Get the Ralts. Evolve into Lucario, obviously. And then I think I communication the other Lucario. End up getting Kirlia. Okay, so right here, I put the Ralts down and immediately giant cape it. This was on hindsight. Never do this like right away, unless you know that there's going to be some damage range that you're going to need to save yourself from. I just do this out of habit because the entire point was for Giant Cape to go on Gallade, just so it lives a little bit longer. I just did it out of habit, but obviously, you know, a lot of you are probably smarter and better than I am. So you'd want to hold off on doing this. Yeah, then I just put the energy on the Ralts. I was up against some fighting types. So you know they're gonna be weak to psychic. Oh, that's right. Sabrina me. Yeah. So they Sabrina me here, and honestly, I'm kind of glad I accidentally put the second Regirock there, or else I'd be in a super awkward position. But then again, I don't have the Rocky helmet on the second Regirock. So because I don't have the Rocky helmet here, you know, it's not as ideal. But you know, this will help me for a little bit. Okay, so I put it on the Regirock. Because I think I assumed that my first Regirock is going to go down. Yeah, because yeah, especially, you know, I figured they'd evolve into Machamp at this point. Instead, it's only hitting for 30, which is nice. I end up getting Leaf here. Do I? I do, yeah. Put the energy onto the Regirock and then leave. Then I switch onto the one with the Rocky Helm. So obviously, you know, with a lot better Gallade decks, most of you would probably have Gallade by now. But then again, I didn't anticipate going up against a deck like this. You know, they put the Riolu on the bench, so I'm expecting, you know, Machamp Lucario, obviously. It's a Giovanni, which is nice. Yeah, put the energy on the Lucario. Because any day now, they're going to evolve into Machamp. Excuse me, they're going to evolve into Machamp. So I'm just anticipating having to retaliate in some way. They put the Cubone on the bench. And Cubone can be scary. Because, you know, obviously powered up with Lucario, its move can do 180 damage. Which means that, you know, me putting the giant cape onto the Ralts earlier is actually helpful. Because it means Gallade now has 190 HP. And, you know, Marowak can only do 180 with the Lucario. That is, unless they have a Giovanni. And, you know, roll 2 heads. I'll get the Gallade here. Yeah, so luckily I managed to get Gallade. Power it up. Just wait the turn out. You're gonna knock something out. You can easily knock out the Machoke. Yeah, they send out their own Ralts. Yeah. And then they evolve into Marowak. Yeah, Regirock is super helpful because its ability basically offsets its own weakness, and it offsets this Lucario here. So normally this would be doing 70 damage, but because Regirock takes minus 20, it's just back down to that 50. So they knock it out. I think at this point it's just a clean sweep, basically. You know, the only reason they'd want to, you know, keep playing this out is if they have a Giovanni in their deck. Yeah, I'm doing 150 to the Machoke, easy one shot. And then, you know, Marowak comes in. I think the only thing... Yeah, I think right here, yeah, they attack right away, which means they don't have Giovanni. Because if they had Giovanni, I'd have to really be reliant on the heads. But luckily they only get one head. Do 100 damage. As you can see, left with 90. If the second one hit, I'd have 10 HP left. So it's Giovanni's huge. Oh, the other Rocky Helmet, yeah. Almost attack right away. Realize it only does 130. Just put the energy in the Rocky Helmet on the Regirock just because. Play the Giovanni. And then boom, 140. Righty, okay, so I had to re-record this part because the audio glitched. So everything from this point on is basically a second clip. So we're loading into our third match here. We end up going second. It's fine. As you can see, we end up starting with the Regirock and the Ralts. So I put the Ralts on the bench as well. We have Gallade. All we just need is Kirlia. We lead Porygon. I think at the time of playing this, it was like the first time I've gone up against a Porygon deck. So, yeah. As I was about to say, like, you can see the metal energy. I'm fully assuming it's being powered up with Dialga, and there we go. Dialga on the bench. They Pokeball again. It's their second Dialga that they bring out. Okay, well, they started with both Pokeballs. Okay, then. I think they fill out their bench completely, right? Yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't. So, drawn to the Kirlia perfectly. Put the giant cape on it. Just for that extra health. Don't want to put on the Regirock. I'm saving the Regirock for the Rocky Helmet. So the two things I need now at this point are Rocky Helmet for this Regirock, as well as Lucario. Although, unfortunately, they won't give. Oh, never mind. We're good. Yeah, get the leaf. Oh, they get the leaf, they retreat. Yeah, the Pokeball gave us the second Regirock. Leave it in my hand for now. I don't know if I want it on the bench yet. And then they Rocky Helmet their Dialga, that makes sense. And with the Metallic Turbo, as you can see, thanks to Regirock, it only does 10 damage, which is awesome. Yeah, if I had the Rocky Helmet, that'd be so huge right now. Pop into Gallade. We get a Pokemon Communicator. We're guaranteed to get Riolu out of it. There's a total of 9 Pokemon in this deck, 2 of which are Regirock, 3 of which is the entire Gallade line. Actually, no, hold on. We're not guaranteed Riolu because there's always a chance we get the extra Lucario. Never mind. Spoke there. So yeah, they just keep hitting us, they keep powering up. Speak of the Devil, it's their second Lucario. Which means now we're guaranteed a Riolu. But I decided to put the second Regirock down. Because obviously with how much the Dialga ramps up, we really don't need 2 Lucario to be able to deal massive amounts of damage. They have so much energy, Gallade's going to do so much damage. Waiting a few minutes, yeah, there. Check to see whether or not I used 1 or 2 Pokeballs because I couldn't remember. Pokemon Communication, there we go. Uzak, get rid of Lucario. There's the Riolu. Place that sucker on the bench. Continue powering up our second Regirock. Not that I don't think we ever use it. Another Metallic Turbo. Yeah, the next turn, Dialga KOs Regirock. There's the Rocky Helmet. Onto Lucario. Finally put the Rocky Helmet onto Regirock. Although I think I think at this point it's too little too late. Because would 4 energy do it? 4 energy is 80 plus 70, yeah. Yeah, Lucario only helps out if they giant caped the Dialga instead. Because with 4 energy, Gallade would have one-shot. What do they do here? I don't know what they're deciding on, but I think what they settle for is just to put that last energy on Dialga and then KO Regirock. Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly what they do. At this point, I just bring in the Gallade. It's a clean sweep. Like, Porygon is weak to fighting, so it takes an extra 20 damage. That second Dialga has so much energy, it's well beyond one shot. Yeah, I hit this one for 170. I haven't gone up against too many Porygon Z's, so I forget how much health it has. I think it's 140, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's 140. So yeah, they hit me with the Buggy Beam, does 80 damage, it doesn't matter. Hit me with that Dark Energy. Yeah, I easily one-shot. Instead, I just decided to toy with them a little bit. You know, play my turn out as if I'm not aware. So Pokeball, get the Riolu. Put the Riolu on the bench, and yeah, they concede. It's that easy. Alrighty, so you know, as you can see, that's the Gallade deck in action. 3 matches, well, 4 if you count the practice against the Darkrai, but that was just to showcase it. You know, again, I think Darkrai is like the biggest threat in the meta right now, just because Weavile can do, you know, can shred so much early on. And that's kind of why I wanted the Regirocky helmet here. Against some of the other decks, I mean, it fares pretty well. I think Celebi is kind of a 50-50. I think Venusaur decks are fine. Yeah, going up against Venusaur is fine because they kind of have to stay powered on the bench. That gives you plenty of time. Sub Celebi decks I've been able to beat, just because I managed to get Regirock out in time, and then bring Gallade in and KO the Celebi. Other times, I think there was one time I got like sleep stalled by a Jigglypuff, so they ended up building too much energy, and I think ended up not getting. No, yeah, they ended up building too much energy. So even though I was able to KO that Jigglypuff eventually, you know, by the time that Celebi came, it knocked out my Gallade. So, you know, this is a pretty decent deck. Obviously, I think some other people have run a much more aggressive Gallade. As I mentioned previously, you could run this with Machamp using Druddigon instead of Regirock. I just thought they pair pretty well because Gallade only needs 2 energy, and so you can use that would-be 3rd energy onto Regirock in order to retreat it with Leaf. Leaf is also super helpful for bringing out Lucario in case it was out there for some reason. The Pokemon communication, can be a little bit inconsistent. Just always be mindful. I think this deck at its worst is. Hold on, I'm looking at the list in front of me. Let me see. I think if you end up like starting with like Ralts, uh, yeah, like Ralts, Giovanni, Leaf, and then either like the Lucario or the Gallade. Like if that's your starting hand, obviously Ralts doesn't do any damage, and then even if you manage to draw like Pokemon communication and then you try to get something else and then you end up with like either the other Lucario or Gallade, I think that's like the absolute worst this deck can get, where you're just stuck doing nothing on the first turn. But aside from that, I think everything else is pretty recoverable. Because even if you start with Ralts, you're bound to get Regirock or Riolu in some capacity. So you can then put the energy onto Ralts and then teleport it back out. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you guys think about this. Have you tried this out? I feel like most people haven't tried this out. I haven't seen anybody even touch Regirock. But if you guys tried this out, share your experiences with it. Figure out how to optimize it a little bit more. That'd be much appreciated. Uh, Thank you, enjoy, and as always, stay frothy.